Humans of the cardboard, you might have guessed it. Yesterday we got the Memento support. Really, really powerful stuff. I really think Memento kind of has climbed up my mental idea of like the tiers, and in the future, like I really think their support is quite good and they may be a legit rogue deck or maybe even tier 2. We'll see. But that's really exciting. Monica got their new Link Monster 2 days ago, and so of course we get Centurion cards today. Everybody's been theorizing what Centurion would get next because it's probably been the most hyped up archetype from that deck build pack, just like Vanquish Soul was before it, except Vanquish Soul didn't quite get as much help as Centurion has now. So, brand new cards. Everybody been theorying. Are we going to get a new tuner pilot, the one that's piloting Gargoyle from the cards that were revealed last set? And do we get another big synchro mech? I believe I saw it debunked by a couple of people saying like the lore from the archetype is the synchro released last set is the one that should apply to this pilot. I think. Don't quote me on that. That's just what I read. I'm not that big into the lore. I care more about what the cards do anyway, so there we go. We do have a new pilot. It is a new tuner. This is Centurion Atri, or the Condry comes out to Dragon Knight, so I'm sure we'll get something closer to that, maybe, or maybe it'll just be another name, kind of, some kind of slightly off name from Atri. We'll see. It's a level 4 Dark Dragon tuner, so weirdly enough, dragon here. We've already got like pyros and warriors and all this, or spellcasters and all this other stuff, so why not? It is a 1800 attack, 1400 defense monster, pretty decent for a level 4, and its first and third effects are hard once per turn. If this card is normal or special summoned, and you have an Emblema card or cards, and a Centurion card or cards in your graveyard, you can draw one card. Also, you cannot special summon another copy of Centurion Atri, should be Atri, for the rest of this turn. Second effect, if this card you control would be used as synchro material, you can treat it as a non-tuner. So not only is this a new tuner for us to use, which is definitely what the deck was looking for, it doesn't have to be. So if you already do have a tuner, it can be either. I like that flexibility. That's not a crazy effect on here, but I feel like it could make for some interesting lines that just give you a little more versatility on what you can do. And thirdly, during the main phase, if this card is a continuous trap, you can special summon it. Classic Centurion stuff. If all of them are in the spell and trap zone as a continuous trap, they can just summon themselves. Quick effect. Cool. The deck's very good at putting them in there, whether it's follow-up at the end of a turn to guarantee you can do that stuff on your opponent's turn, or some of just like the more engine starter cards that can just kind of get stuff set, placed into the spell and trap zone. Really, really solid. All in all, I like this card. I don't think this card is out of this world, but that's not what we needed. Consistency is not a problem in Centurion. They have like 12 one-card starters, whatever it is, right? Trudea, whatever the main ones, I can't remember the main one's name. Trudea, the main one, the Field Spell, and Emblema Oath, all one-card starters, basically, or 1.5 card starters. You include the discard, but this is cool. I think this is a useful tool. I felt like my impression of the deck, and I really didn't mess with it just because I've had this weird thing with Centurion where I like the way the deck plays, I like how it works, but Konami has not banned Calamity, and so as long as, if I ever want to play the deck, I'm just going to be playing a worse version if I don't play Calamity, but then I also feel like a sleazeball by playing a dumb win condition like Calamity, so I don't really want to play that route. So I've kind of been staying away from the deck for the time being, hoping Calamity would get banned. It's one of the few things I was disappointed with the most recent ban list, that they didn't just go ahead and nip Calamity in the bud, because I do think between last wave, Legacy of Destruction, and this wave, I do think the deck may have enough just engine pieces where they don't need to rely on Calamity. They can end on more stuff, and I think this is part of that, right? I feel like there are now maybe not 1-card combos, but 2-card combos, maybe 3-card combos, where drawing enough engine, it felt like it didn't result in that much better of a board in the past. But I feel like with this card, now you're just getting an additional draw, and now we have access to an additional tuner. So we might be able to make more synchros in the same turn, and start getting draws more consistently. An extra draw. I mean, is there a world where we can make Legacia and the new Synchro 12 from Legacy of Destruction in the same turn? So that way, maybe we go through this card, drawing a card, go through Legacia, drawing a second card, maybe we reset this card so that way when this card jumps out on the opponent's turn, it's drawing a third card. Potentially you could make Legacia, or you could go into Crimson Dragon into one of those, one of the big Stardust Synchro guys or what Cosmo Blazar guys for a negate, or obviously Calamity. But like, are we looking at a world where now Centurion has the ability to draw 3 to 4 cards between your turn and your opponent's turn, and for a deck that seems like it can play 15 plus non-engine, drawing hand traps, right, adding to the board that way, I think it could make for a pretty good strategy that way. And I think this does raise the ceiling overall. And just another name, right? If you start your turn with Primera and she gets handled and she kind of gets taken care of and you can't really extend with her, if you have an Emblema Oath, if you have the field spell, being able to drop a copy of this card is just better, right, than going for another Primera, because Primera's main effect is the search, so that's already been handled, and now we have another tuner that we can go through that can potentially also just get us extra draws on top of it, which is really cool. Now, the downside is it needs a Emblema Oath, or an Emblema and a Centurion card in the graveyard, and the Emblemas are not searchable, I don't believe, so you do kind of have to hard draw them, but who knows. If we're on Prosperity, if we're on other stuff, like that can help us draw those a little more often and at least make this live for our opponent's turn to be drawing us free cards. All in all, I think it's about what we needed. I don't like, they could have made it better, sure, but like, consistency is not a problem, so it didn't need to be an insane search card or something. But it's another tuner extender. Maybe you play 1 or 2 copies of it, and it works. It works for what the deck needed, an additional tuner. Next up, we have Emblema Atonement. So another Emblema card, which does help with achieving that effect upstairs that we saw with the first monster. This is another quick play spell. You can activate this. You can only activate a card with this card's name once per turn, of course. First effect, banish 1 face-up Centurion monster card from your spell and trap zone, then target a card your opponent controls, banish it. So, eye for an eye. Does stink that you would have to banish one of your own Centurions, but that is a decent payoff, right? This is just a quick effect banish, which is not bad. Second effect, if this set card is destroyed or banished by an opponent's activated card effect, you can place 2 Centurion monsters with different names from hand, deck, graveyard, and or banish face up in your spell and trap zone as continuous traps. It's a pretty good float, I mean, especially since the Centurions can summon on the opponent's turn, so even as a bluff, if they did somehow remove this card, you know, with a Cosmic, which people will side Cosmic for this deck, that's a pretty decent card to respond to you trying to summon from the spell and trap zone on the opponent's turn, or even going first, hitting stuff when they try to activate in spell and trap zone to summon as well, is pretty decent. And so I guess this is a pretty good punish to just get 2 names, then can immediately summon, and if you have the field spell, immediately synchro from there. That can work. Yeah, I think this card is okay. I think maybe this gives me maybe one-off vibes in the deck, like a decent utility card, just like the traps. You're like, the traps aren't bad, but you don't really want to draw them all that often. But when you go first and you do feel like you want one more layer of additional stuff, cool, you can get one of those. I don't necessarily think that's when you would get this card. You'd probably prefer the traps there. But I do think more utility going second is nice, right? Being able to grab this because maybe your opponent has something and you don't have a clean way to remove it. This is just a banish. That's pretty good removal. And it's a quick play. So, you know what I mean? There's utility there. I think, to me, I think the card I could most closely compare this card to is... shoot, what's the Sprite card? Sprite Smashers? Is it Smashers? Can't remember. The Sprite quick play spell, where it's like you do have to banish like a Sprite engrave and I think and on field to then non-target banish something your opponent has. You are losing a resource, just like this card. You have to give up something, but if it handles a really annoying floodgate, I mean, we're already talking about how in this upcoming format, right? Like if Fire King Snake Eye is good, a card like this and Cosmic hits the Fire King field spell. And then there's also other decks that like you can hit, like, and obviously banishing any card. This isn't even spell and trap restricted on what it can hit, but like there's utility all over the place. I think it's okay. I think it's a decent one-off. It may be a sideable card for when like you really need like want access to a card like this just because it's searchable. Where like in that instance versus Fire King, sure, like Cosmic may be just as good and maybe better because you don't have to lose like a resource in your spell and trap zone. But this card's searchable. Cosmic's not. You may have to hard draw Cosmic, which is not always reliable enough. So maybe instead of doing 3 Cosmics in your side deck, maybe you do 2 Cosmics and 1 copy of this. That way you do have a way to just like go ahead and get this guaranteed if you don't hard draw one of the Cosmics. So kind of cool. Oh wait, oh I'm so dumb. I said all of that like it's searchable, but it's an Emblema card. I was literally going in like the basis in my mind that it's a Centurion card, but it's still not even a Centurion card. It's an Emblema card. That does make that more annoying. Yeah, it's weird. Not sure if I feel it on this card then. Like the whole base in my mind was like, oh, it's searchable. So like that's cool. It's kind of like searchable cosmic that can also hit monsters, but it's not. Okay, not crazy then. My bad. That's on me. I would say Atri's the bigger card here for sure. I mean, either way, I thought Atri was the better card. But you know, it's not a nothing card. But you know, I'm not sure losing the resource to kind of do what some other hard drawable side deck, you know, board breaker type cards do anyway, is kind of like meh. If it was searchable, I'd really consider it as a one-off, but since it doesn't seem to be searchable, I don't know how crazy I'm about it anyway. All right, yeah, so that's where we're at. I do like level 4. I think that's a pretty nice card for the deck. I really hope maybe with this wave, when we get our next ban list in 3 months, which if it lines up the way it did this time, if it's right before info drops, Infinite Forbidden, not information, drops in the TCG in 3 months, maybe they ban Calamity then, because honestly, it's hard to be interested in a deck where you know you're playing a worse version of it because you're not playing the dumb Calamity stuff, but I also just don't want to play the sleazy win condition that is Calamity locking. So we'll see. We'll see where we end up on that. Hopefully that's where we go. I believe we still should be getting one more little wave of legacy support. I think we said there's like a trap slot and a link slot that appeared to be like legacy support. It appears to be like fitting into legacy support slots. So we will see what happens there. Other than that, I think the rest looks mostly like filler stuff. But honestly, Konami's been pretty good about this. There's only been like 8, 9 filler slots in core sets, which is way better than it used to be. I remember when I was getting like 15 to 17 like final cards revealed at the very end of the set, and then like most of them were bad. So a lot more excited about this stuff here. Why not use those slots to give archetypes that want it, that deserve it, some nice legacy support. So I'll keep you updated on any of that stuff here. Still more reveals to come, so subscribe to the channel for that stuff and anything else Yu-Gi-Oh! Wise on the channel. I'll keep you posted. Thanks for watching, guys. Peace.